next topic is one of complementary collaborators. And we don't have to say a lot about this, but thinking about who will complement your own skill set is a critical question to ask. Great example comes from Bell Labs. This team, Walter Bratton, John Bardeen, and William Shockley invented the transistor, the solid state transistor, and enabled us to be able to have this Zoom call, for example. What's interesting is Bardeen is a theoretical physicist. He's the only physicist to win the Nobel Prize twice. And John Bardeen, he's not an experimental physicist. And so, and the story is, Bardeen would be writing up equations on the blackboard, and then Walter Bratton's experimental physicist, and he'd be at the breadboard executing the experiments. And a lot of times Bardeen would leave and say, I got to go to lunch. And Bratton would say, well, I don't know what to do until you finish the equations, or Bratton would be working on something, but he wasn't able to interpret the results till Bardeen got back. But they had this incredible back and forth between the blackboard and the breadboard, an experimental physicist with a theoretical physicist, and they could check with one another. Wow, this result is 1/1500th of what theoretically it should be. Why is that? And they would go back and forth, but they ultimately broke through in a profound way because they had a really special relationship. We were talking with our friend Claudia Kochka the other day, who is the head of innovation at Procter & Gamble under A.G. Lafley's leadership. And one of the things she told us, she was responsible for all of marketing before she took over innovation. And one of the things that she told us, we were asking, what are the keys to you delivering, routinely coming up with fresh ideas? And she said one of the biggest lessons she learned is she needed her polar opposite on the team. She needed someone, and she gave us the example of, there was a person who was head of finance who told her once, Claudia, there's a limit to the number of times we can change the strategy. We can't change the strategy every day. We can't do it, And she said, good, okay, thanks. I'll get back to work, right? But again, this example of seeking out, it's so easy to dismiss someone who has a different perspective. It's so easy to write them off or to roll our eyes, rather than truly valuing and appreciating a different perspective, and being able to generate and evaluate ideas a lot of times comes from different perspectives being mashed together with a deep sense of appreciation rather than frustration.